So you want to move abroad? You need to ask yourself some questions. The first one is why? Why do you want to move abroad? For Mark and me, our why is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. We loved our life in San Diego, but we knew we wouldn't be able to afford that life without us both working. So we wanted to find somewhere to live that we could afford that would provide us just as comfortable a life as we were used to in San Diego. We worked hard for a lot of years and definitely aren't looking to make our lives harder at this point. The next thing you need to ask yourself is where? And this is where people run into a problem because you've got tons of people wanting to move abroad to country X or country Y, but they really don't know where they want to live in country X or country Y. Either it's because they've never visited that country, or they just don't know enough about the different cities and areas of the country. And I can't even imagine being faced with that decision, honestly, because pretty much everywhere we've decided to move to, we had either visited or had known something about the place. And you can start out by asking yourself, where do you live now? What city, what state, what country? How did you come up with this location? Is it your hometown and you never left? Are you living somewhere you moved to for a job? Are you living somewhere because you live near family? Are you like me and just happened to grow up in one of the most awesome places in the whole world and got the luck of the draw for living there? So there's lots of reasons you're living where you are, and you need to consider all those. You need to ask yourself what you like about where you live now and what you don't like. And with that, what do you like about your lifestyle now and what do you not like about your lifestyle now? I feel like when people are moving abroad, ourselves included, you're moving somewhere for different reasons than maybe you've moved other places in the past. Like for us, every time we moved somewhere, even though we came from an expensive place to live, every time we moved somewhere, the place that we moved to was even more expensive than we were already living. We moved to Hawaii. We moved to New York City. And the reason we moved to those places is because, one, we love them. And in the case of New York City, we moved there just because there were more job opportunities at the time. And we thought we could advance our careers further by living in New York City. And that happened to be true. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that we love big cities. And the reason that we love big cities is because regardless of what big city you go to, all big cities around the world capitals especially, are always going to have some things in common. I mean, in a world capital, you're usually going to have multiple airports, at least one international airport, and many of the bigger cities have more than one airport. And you're always going to have more services in big cities than in smaller towns. And from our perspective, this provides a much softer landing than a smaller area, because while you're trying to learn everything there is about a new country, new city, new way of life, the bigger the city, usually the fewer challenges on a day-to-day level. But this is just our experience because what we have learned through our moves is we definitely want convenience. I think we learned that on a whole different level while we were in Portugal. Even though we were living in the capital and we pretty much had all of the conveniences that were available, it just wasn't on par with the level of convenience we were used to. And we decided that that is not something we were willing to live without. Now, a lot of this criteria that we have really is shaped by the way we grew up and where we grew up. I feel like if we didn't grow up in Southern California, we might have a completely different outlook and completely different criteria for what has become important to us. But when you're used to living a certain way for your entire life, don't underestimate the power of that. For example, I get comments on our Leaving Portugal video from people, and they always want to try to figure out like what is the real reason that we left. For some reason, people just can't understand that it wasn't for us and we didn't love it. And some of the reasons that come up are, oh, we didn't bother to learn the language and we didn't integrate into the culture. So here's what I have to say about that. Okay, number one, regarding the language. I did study Portuguese with a private tutor for, I would say, 6 months while I was there, and I really enjoyed studying the language. I actually have a degree in linguistics, so languages are something that are interesting to me, and I've always had a love of learning languages. The second thing about learning languages, where I come from in San Diego, there are people from all over the world, and it's normal, especially coming from the healthcare field, to deal with people on a daily basis who do not speak English. It was something that was normal to me in my everyday life in San Diego. And at work, I would simply grab the translator phone and talk with the translator so that I could speak with that person in their native language. You have to understand that that is how life is in Southern California. So the fact that we didn't speak Portuguese, even though we were learning the language, coming from a place where people are respected and still communicated to in their native languages as a regular occurrence, this whole thing about not learning the language and when you're in Portugal, you need to speak Portuguese. Well, yes, that's true. But coming from a place where people are supported in their native languages while learning the new ways of their new land, that whole argument, I just don't have that much weight for it because it's just not my personal experience. Spend some time in Southern California in a public service industry, and you will be accustomed to dealing with people using translators in their native language. So, what I'm trying to get across to you in this video, in bringing all of your past experiences along with you to your new country, it doesn't mean that you're trying to change the country that you're in. You are trying to figure out how to be yourself in a completely new and foreign environment. The best advice that I can give you is to really know yourself, really know the reasons why you're wanting to move abroad. Like I told you at the top of the video, our why was pretty simple, but I can also tell you that we've both always wanted to move abroad pretty much our entire lives, simply for the experience of it. I can remember when I was in the legal field, one of the firms I was working for had an office in London, and I tried my best to get transferred to the London office. I mean, I was communicating with the director over there, getting information about a work permit, the whole 9 yards, and at the last minute it all fell through. But I was really excited about the prospect of being able to possibly go work in London. One last thing I will tell you is throughout the whole process, just don't be so hard on yourself. Again, you have to know yourself. Are you someone who's lived in the same town your entire life and then trying to make this huge change? Or are you somebody that goes with the flow and thrives on change? The way you handle challenges throughout your life is the same way you're going to handle any challenges that come up when you move abroad. There really isn't a lot of mystery to it. For Mark and I, when we knew Portugal wasn't for us, it made perfect sense to pack it up and move on, because we've done that in the past in other situations. Life's too short to be unhappy or to always wish you were somewhere else. And I'll talk about that in another video. But so really, if you're thinking about moving abroad, know your why, know your where, but most importantly, know yourself and how your own experiences, your life up until now will affect that why and where. You know, sometimes I still can't believe that Mark and I are actually living abroad, because it was a dream for so long. It seems completely normal now, and when I look back, it seems as though it was something that was going to be inevitable, and we were always moving in this direction, moving towards living abroad, but I couldn't really see it at the time. Life's funny that way, but it really all makes sense. And so I would say be nice to yourself. Really give yourself credit for all of your life experience, everything you've been through up until now, and know that all of that is going to help shape your experience. And I think you're going to be excited about your future abroad. I know I'm really excited about ours.